Watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Die.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to another Trap or Die podcast. I am your host, Mual, in here with the fellas AJ and Dre. This podcast, man, is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy, man. We got a little sponsor, bruh. Brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. But before we get started with the show and checking with the fellas, as always, man, make sure you hit that like button on YouTube if you are just tapped in. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We definitely appreciate that. Audio side, same thing, man. If you have not hit that follow button yet, we definitely appreciate that. If you do so, if you're brand new, hit that rating and review as well. It takes 2 seconds to do so, and it's free to show your support on that side. Film session is coming out. What's today? Tuesday. Tomorrow and Thursday. Tomorrow and Thursday, if not Thursday, Friday. But we got 2 coming out this week, same thing as last week. So be on the lookout for those. Fellas, what's going on, man? How y'all feeling?
Feeling great, brother. Victory Tuesday. We still celebrating. Even though we got
Celebrate,
all field,
okay.
hey, we got all field goals, but we beat the Giants. That's all that matters. I'm happy we won, so we still on Victory Tuesday.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie to you. I would have lost my shit if we lost to the Giants.
Yeah.
Probably would have. I told you that on the preview though. I was like, there's no way. I don't expect us to lose to the Giants ever. Like last 4 or 5 years, I've thoroughly been disappointed every time we lost.
Hey, we inching back to getting this rivalry back. I know we saying it's dead, but we start winning these games, they're gonna start hating us again. Hey, listen to me. Hey, it's gonna happen. We start winning these games, we're gonna make motherfuckers hate us again, Mual.
Okay. All right, I'm here for it. What's going on with you? What's going on with you, AJ?
Man, I'm just cooling. Ready to chop it up about some football. Looking forward to Monday night's matchup
Ooh-wee.
against the Cincinnati Bengals. Get to see Jaden Daniels and the rest of this team in prime time. Yeah.
The good news is we are about to talk about the team. We had a couple of days since the final ticker or the final zeros hit against the Giants. So we've had some time to digest everything that we've been thinking about since the game ended. Offensively, defensively, coaching, players, etc. And just like projections moving forward as we always do. So I'm gonna give y'all the floor. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Do we want to start? What side of the ball do we want to start off with? The offense or the defense in terms of our aftermath thoughts? Where we want to start at?
Let's say the offense.
Boom. Say no more. Y'all got the floor. Y'all got the floor first, man. What y'all thinking?
Well, for me, I mean, honestly, I'm even though we didn't score any touchdowns, I'm pleased with what I'm seeing from the offense. To be honest, I mean, I could be wrong, but I feel like Cliff has been setting up some things to dial up later. Like a lot of the stuff he's doing with the screen game and a lot of the concepts I feel like he's doing, I feel like he's putting stuff out there on tape to get teams to start playing them a certain way. Then they can start really attacking downfield. I mean, at least that's my optimism. That's the hope for me talking. I don't mind the screens right now, but I do want to see more of those downfield shots because that's the thing. We want to see Terry get those downfield shots. Maybe now that Noah Brown has shown that he could be a little bit reliable so far. Maybe we'll start to see him get more involved in the offense. Maybe we'll start to see those downfield shots to him. But either way, I'm liking what I'm seeing from the offense. I mean, again, I said this on Sunday and I reiterated again. They didn't punt the ball at all on Sunday. I mean, that's an efficient moving the ball offense. Obviously, it's frustrating when you don't get touchdowns, but in the second week of the season, when you're moving the ball that good, and especially the run game, like honestly, I feel like we haven't seen this type of run game since Alfred Morris was here when you had the threat of RG3. I do feel like I feel like defenses right now are really scared of what Jaden Daniels can do with the ball when he runs. That you don't have as much focus on the backs when Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler. I mean, I seen one of those little charts today, those efficiency charts. We got the two of the most efficient running back duos we got one of the most efficient running back duos in the NFL right now.
Ooh,
So
point
I mean,
that my direction. Where is it? Pro Football Focus?
I know who posted it. I'll go look on his page and I'll send it your way. But it was one of those those charts things. Eckler and Brian Robinson was close to the top.
I'm gonna search it while you talking. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's cool. But no, I mean, it's very encouraging just to see that, even though you're not getting the touchdowns right now. I mean, Jaden Daniels doesn't have a passing touchdown right now, but that's going to change because right now teams are looking on tape and they're seeing what they're doing, and you're going to be able to get those shots later on. So for me, I'm encouraged by what I've seen by the offense, even though there's the criticisms, they're valid. But like I said, I'm much more encouraged by them than what we are encouraged by the defense so far.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm definitely encouraged by Jaden Daniels from the play that he's displayed in the first 2 weeks of the season. His poise, his pocket presence, and awareness to just be able to elude defenders and be able to create if something's not there, and even take what is there. I don't necessarily have too much of a problem with the dink and dunk, especially when you look back at the tape. It's not too many opportunities to go downfield. Would I have thought going into week 3 of the season that the primary weapons for the offense would be Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler? No. I thought that Terry McLaurin would get more active in the passing game, especially what I've known of Cliff Kingsbury's offense. The screen game is very prominent. There are some screens that I was a favor of, whether it be the fake screen, or I can't even remember exactly the full details, but it was a big time play to Austin Eckler where they faked one
Come on, the middle
direction. It was a
screen.
misdirection, yeah. Then they
Yeah,
also did a middle screen.
third and 11 man coverage. He got 14 on the play with the
Yes.
misdirection.
So I like those particular screens. With the offense, I think you would want one particular guy playing left tackle the entire game. You could see that there's a difference in those two individuals when they are on the field. That's not to necessarily say like Brandon Coleman is the greatest. I personally I personally think that he might be better off at guard from what I've seen in the first two games. I'll give it a little bit more time, but I think he may not be a left tackle in the NFL. But as far as his athleticism, footwork wise, he's much more refined in that case than a Lucas is. So it's a drop off when Lucas comes into the game in that aspect. Then of course Wiley on the other end is just getting beat by anybody that's athletic he's going against. That's a speedster. So it's a bit challenging on that front. But I mean I'm interested to see how this offense grows and how they can end up putting more points on the board. Of course, we know in the Giants game they maintain the time of possession. But at the end of the day, when you're not putting up 6 points in those drives, it's really kind of good for nothing. Especially when you don't even know your kicking situation. You just realize in this week 2 game that you do have a kicker that can be competent. But week 1, you didn't have that because you had to get rid of the guy that you just traded for. So yeah, those are my main concerns with the offense. Of course, like we would like to see more explosion from them, but for what it is right now, I don't know when that'll come, but we'll see.
So for those on the audio side, you wasn't able to see what I shared just now. Part of what Dre was saying
Shit,
is
I couldn't even see.
okay. Okay. Yeah, I also because I don't be knowing like what's visible to y'all on y'all side either. So for those who
I
are
saw it.
seen some white lines. I mean, some white background and black lines.
okay, so it's like those little data charts in terms of like the efficiency things and how NFL stat nerds chart data. And the graph itself was running back efficiency, who's the shiftiest, and they measure it by yards from scrimmage per touch over missed tackles forced per touch. And there are Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler and J.K. Dobbins are among the top 3 in terms of both missed tackles per touch and yards from scrimmage per touch. Austin Eckler and J.K. Dobbins are pretty much are close enough, but B Rob is up there as well. Just not as high as Austin Eckler and JK, who are around 9 yards from scrimmage per touch. B Rob's at 7. Both still pretty high. And that's kind of the chart. I believe that's the one you were talking about too.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one, Mual.
Yeah. So for me, I think there's several different ways to kind of tackle this offense. Hey, step in whenever y'all want to, because I might be rambling. I'm going over film notes, right? So just step in whenever y'all want to. I think for me, offensively, AJ touched on one thing that I really like is how Cliff Kingsbury dresses up the screens. He has several different varieties, the receiver screens, the bubbles, the RPOs, misdirections. And I don't know what it's called. Excuse me. I don't know what it's called when he has like those little pop screens in a sense where like he has like these little play actions, or maybe like the running back leaks out like he's about to go to the flat, but he just leaks out around the edge defender and he just turns around and it's a 2-man game up front with the left tackle and the left guard, or the right tackle and the right guard, or just 2 offensive linemen. I don't know exactly what type of screen it's called, And then obviously the middle screen that we saw with Austin Eckler, I actually put that one on my Twitter page. And you see that 2-man game, that one's going up the middle. He just shows a misdirection where it's perfectly timed too. Like man coverage, you're expecting man coverage. You get a linebacker matched up with Austin Eckler, cover 0. So like there's nobody, and it's just Austin, the linebacker, and then one more linebacker, and he's getting consumed by the offensive lineman that's leaking out. So like the timing in that in itself is really good. But the way that Cliff Kingsbury dresses up his screens, I think it puts defenses in conflict because it's like not only do you run the screens or you run the bubble or like the threat of a screen is there, like they have to account for it. And the way that he attacked the New York Giants, because they were playing so far off the line of scrimmage, is where you're seeing those tunnel screens, that tunnel screen early to De'Ami Brown, but then you also seeing some bubble screens, you're seeing some quick screens, and I think part of the problem sometimes why these things get blown up, although I love the fact that it's in the game plan. You ain't got receivers outside of Noah Brown who can block for a damn screen on the perimeter. Like that's a problem, and that needs to be a conversation. I don't think there's nothing they can do. They made their bed in terms of who they have on their team. The only person that I trust out there is Noah Brown. Olamide Zaccheaus. Shout out to the people that be on my ass. Yeah, OZ. I like his effort and his toughness, like his competitiveness. But again, I'm not going to ignore his frame. 5'8".
Well, Mark, can I ask you how's Luke McCaffrey in that regard?
Hit and miss. He's not as bad as De'Ami and Terry. But like he ain't somebody where I look at him like Noah Brown and Olamide. They don't necessarily put him all. He's not always out there in the screen game in terms of blocking. I just know, again, that's a person that I scouted, so I know how he is as a blocker on the perimeter. But he usually, recently, in the 2 games that he's getting the screens, so they don't really use him as a blocker just yet. He's had limited exposure in that aspect. But Luke he's okay. But I would love to see him more because Terry and De'Ami ain't getting the job done. And Zach Ertz damn sure ain't getting the job done. Like he gives you 25% effort when he has to block in the perimeter. But like to that point, I love the way that they dress the screens up. I think that it's a focal point in this game. I like the fact that like even one of the plays where Zach Ertz catches a pass over the middle is off of a fake screen look, right? Like he slips up the field but breaks inside, and you get like a 15 to 20 yard dig route from Zach Ertz, and you get a big play out of that. Just because you implemented the screen pass all day, and it was a focal point for the Giants at that point. Another aspect of these screen plays, and even just the threat of Jaden Daniels, and even the run game period, because y'all talked about Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler. I won't have to rehash that. I think is the threat that Jaden Daniels provides too. Like obviously he's a lethal person with his legs, but what that does too with the fact that he can run, and obviously the running backs are taking the most of their opportunities. You have Zach Ertz. You got Noah Brown. You got like these what do we call them? These I forgot the name of them, but the crossers behind it, like post snap, where they're jetting across the formation into the flats, like wide open opportunities, or you have running back keepers. Like one of the bigger runs from Jaden Daniels is because like you have defenders that's focusing on the run game, the running back so much, they leave the flats free. And this option game, like if they aren't disciplined, you got the whole perimeter just on how things are set up and how things have been blocked throughout the start from the start of the game to the finish of the game. Like they dress things up pretty well, and I think that's probably something that I was very appreciative of in terms of like how they're progressing in the offense. I know Sir Miller mentioned earlier he would like to see his quarterback take more shots downfield and not just to Terry. I'm also in that same boat, but I'm not necessarily critical of him right now. I said last podcast, one thing for sure that I'm very hyper focused on, knowing that it's going to take some time, but I'm just excited and anxious for Jaden to reach this point is the fact that there are missed opportunities downfield, right? But I think the other side of the coin is knowing that even while he's missing some of these opportunities downfield, and you see it on tape in terms of like where he needs to grow, is like his legs are still lethal. And those are the things that you can overcome. Like you didn't have that in any of the quarterbacks that you had previously. And it's rare to even have that in the NFL, period. A person that can take a 3rd and 13 and make it 1st and 10 with a 14-yard gain. You may get the wind knocked out of you, but he gonna get you that first down. And I think that's something that we need to take into account. Sir Miller, I'm not saying that's something that you aren't considering. I know, because I'm with you. I would like to see more downfield shots, right? I'm with you point blank, period. But I also think when we talk about a rookie that's growing, hey, if you're using your legs, bruh, do your thing, cuz. But eventually, like the stuff that I'm seeing on tape, I would love for you to trust what your eyes are saying downfield. Don't be so anxious and impatient with your reads. And then also when you start scrambling, there's opportunities because you are so dangerous as a runner that these defenders are going to abandon their assignments, and you're going to have receivers wide open like Luke McCaffrey on a deep over route because you decided to take off from a clean pocket, but they completely forgot about Luke McCaffrey 20 yards down the field, and it could have been a touchdown if you layered that ball, but you still got 10 plus yards on the scramble that you did run, and you got a first down out of that. But I would love for you to hit Luke McCaffrey because that's a much more explosive play down the line. But I'm gonna note it, and I'm sure your coaches are going to talk about it. But as you grow as a player, I can't wait to see what that looks like because this offense can be even more explosive when these defenses continue to abandon their assignments because they know that you're about to take off, or they think that you're about to take off.
Yeah, I mean, I think just to jump in there, we've seen Jaden take those opportunities in college, and I think it's just once again getting acclimated to the speed of the game, trusting his eyes all the way. Second full NFL game, probably could have played a little bit more in preseason to help with that, but it'll all come in due time. I think he's also trying to balance how much time does he truly have within the pocket. But I mean, I think we'll see those plays happen eventually. You know, I just personally wish he had more explosion from wide receivers on the outside. But at the end of the day, I guess from what Adam Peters said, there's no way to improve your team after a certain point in the season. I still would have loved to have a Brandon Ayuk, especially if we knew they were going to be this focus in the screen game so heavily. Like, I mean, of course, you moved on from Jahan Dotson. From all the tape that I've seen, and also Maul, you've seen, Dre, I believe you've seen as well. When it comes to even Terry in the block game, you can't move on from him so easily because of his contract. But you would hope that you would try to bring in an additional piece that can bring some of that little, attitude to it, because you're running a high percentage of screens during the game. Especially putting your wide receivers in the position of having to block, not necessarily your tackle or your guards pulling, but your wide receivers are having to get out there and make a play on a safety, a corner, or a linebacker dropping down to make that play. So I mean, Noah Brown got his feet wet. Next week would be an interesting game going against another team that has a great defensive mind in Lou Amarillo or something like that. I can't remember how to say it.
The D coordinator.
Yeah, I can't remember how to say his name like that. But Trey Henderson is a beast at defensive end. One of those guys that has a high motor and will definitely be after whoever's in front of him, whether it be on the right or the left side, Wiley, Lucas, Coleman. So that's something that you got to pay close attention to. But, at the end of the day, I just overall, when it comes to this offense, all these statistics and numbers of what Brian Robertson and Eckler are doing and how we view Jaden Daniel be doing, they're cool and all, but I want points, man. Like, I want points on the board, especially when we have a defense that is what it is. You feel me? You definitely need to put up points in when you're going against a high-powered offense. Maybe they haven't showed it per se so far to kick off this season, but if you give Joe Burrow all the time in the world, like how Daniel Jones had last week, shit, it may be a long Monday night.
Yeah. Oh, Dre, I didn't even realize Dre disconnected for a second. So one thing that I want to touch on too was the offensive line, and I'm glad you brought that up one more time. So it's been a mix in terms of my opinion, right? Like I think the offensive line has have had some really good moments. I actually think that they've been schemed up well in terms of pass protection, right? Dexter Lawrence double teamed 18 times on the day. Even like Cliff Kingsbury is something that I meant to mention earlier. This is important because a lot of people mention the history of his offenses, but he used motion at least like 34% of his plays on the day. So like pre-snap motion and all of that stuff has been an effective part or has been utilized at least against the Giants. I got to double check against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But like the motion part in terms of like getting these mixed directions incorporated in his offense, getting the pre-snap coverage looks or diagnosis in terms of like allowing Jaden to see things a little bit more clear, but just getting these mismatches. Like one of these motions, I think it was to Noah Brown, if not Austin Eckler. I'm not too sure, but I think it was Noah Brown. Yeah, it was Noah Brown because it was a mismatch. One of the motions that he had essentially switched the defensive rules and had Noah Brown matched up with a linebacker. And like that's kind of the things that I think is interesting to notate, like when you do have these motions and the way that they dress things up. But back to the offensive line and why I brought it up. They're scheming things up well. And I like how they completely eliminated Dexter Lawrence from making plays in the pass game. They like, I think their primary scheme, the way things are looking 2 games in, is a man scheme offensive line. Obviously there's a couple different ways to block up front. You can do zone areas, you can do man, slide protections, all of those different things. But they did not let Dexter Lawrence out of their sight and made things hell for Dexter. The issue is obviously if you got so much focus on Dexter, that's going to leave opportunity on the perimeter with Brandon Coleman, Andrew Wiley. They're going to have a lot of one-on-ones if you do not slap protect, right? And that's kind of where they got in trouble. Brandon Coleman really got put in the mix. And I think that's kind of part of his, like, you can see what he does well. And like, that's why I'm saying, and I'm going to do a specific like study on him. I really just looked at him through the lens of like play-by-plays for the entire offense. But Brandon, like, you can see where he flashes. Like, he has quick hands. He has good hand placement. I think what's hurting him now early on in terms of pass game is his set points. Like his pass sets where he's stopping his feet or where he's angling to the defender, but also like these moments where like he does get hands on defenders, but then he allows the defenders to counter or to get their hands off. Like if you're gonna lock up on a defender, like I mean, if you're gonna put hands on a defender, either you continue to strike or you clamp up, and he does neither. Like
he don't have the play strength.
Nah, I think he do. I just don't think I don't think he like there yet. I don't think he there yet because you can see him have his hands on there, right? And then he'll just freeze. Like he thinks that he has them, but he doesn't. Does that make sense? Like he'll just sit there and it's like, all right, the play's over, but it's not. Like the play continues. And there's moments where you're like, bro, why are you like? It looks like he's quitting on the play, but I just think that it's not like that he quits, but it's like, bro, like this the NFL. Like these dudes is going to the whistle, it's over. And,
about to say that's it.
He's getting baptized. And I think that's kind of where it's at. So play strength, I'm not saying you're wrong, but I don't think that's the case yet. I think I think that he has to kind of get like, especially with these snaps or these reps where you're having him and Cornelius Lucas go back and forth. I think that's something. I don't think it's harmful. I just think that he needs, and I also think, by the way, that Cornelius Lucas needs to start on that left side. The question comes about Andrew Wiley. Like, I don't know what they're going to do about Andrew, because Andrew is a veteran and that boy having trouble over there. So it's like, bro, what you do with Andrew Wiley? That's the question.
So, Mo, are you saying that you would rather Cornelius Lucas start at left tackle and then find a solution at right tackle?
I thought about that when I said that. I think my bottom line is Cornelius Lucas needs to be on the field, and whether they put Cornelius at right tackle or left tackle, the problem is Andrew Wiley needs to, like, he's the veteran. He has veteran experience. He didn't have a terrible day against the Giants, but he was getting work. He had some moments where it's like,
that's been
right,
Andrew Wiley since he's been here. I think we've had an issue with Andrew Wiley. I don't know how many games we've come out of watching Andrew Wiley saying, man, Andrew Wiley is a solid right tackle. So, I mean, I don't know if it's ever going to hit. I don't know if we're waiting for that shoe to drop with him, but at some point, but I'm with you on the Cornelius Lucas thing. He's a swing tackle. I mean, that's what he's been since he's been with Washington. You can put him over on the right side.
Swing his ass to the right side.
That's what I'm saying. You can swing him right over to the right side, you know?
Because, I mean, Brandon Coleman, the reason why I say play strength is like, bruh, have a nasty streak to you. You feel me? Like, you got all the traits there. But if you get a little bit more nastier, it's going to help with your technique. You're going to keep pushing on the person that's in front of you. But just thinking like the play is over, it's like, bruh, I don't get
AJ,
it.
isn't that coachable? Don't you think that's coachable? Like, and he can stay at left tackle if he played through the strength.
I don't know if that's coachable at that point. I think you just got to want to beat the man in front of you really bad. Like, I really don't know, bro. Like, that's why I said it's 2 weeks in. I don't know what the hell the plan is at left tackle. It seems like no one's asking the question how many snaps they're giving these guys or whatever. Like, I don't know. But I just think you're doing your offensive line a disservice, and especially your quarterback, because it's two different guys playing at left tackle, and it's not injury based where they're switching out. It's just like one guy, especially if you're playing a particular type of defense, you want those people to continue with their matchups. But, you know, if you're a defensive end going against two different guys, you pretty much got the advantage because no one's really going to pick up on your tendencies all the way throughout the game. As we all know, you pick up on different nuances each play. And when you're switching guys out, we don't even know when the hell they're gonna get switched out. We just end up seeing a light-skinned dude and a dark-skinned dude. It's like watching an episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air on BET, like the reruns. Like, you don't know if this episode got dark-skinned Aunt Viv or light-skinned Aunt Viv. That's essentially what they doing at left tackle, bro.
That's a weird thing, though. They do have to figure that left tackle situation out because, like I said, I have never seen in all my years, well, maybe since all my years of paying attention to these type of things, I haven't seen a rotation at left tackle. I mean, that's like a weird place to have a rotation. You see rotations at running backs, you see it at defensive ends, but not left tackle. I mean, I do think they have to square away right away. I mean, I can give them the first 2 weeks because Brandon Coleman did miss a lot of time in the offseason and the preseason. He didn't play a preseason game at all. So now I do think 2 weeks into the season, you have to come to the conclusion, who is my starting left tackle? It should not be a rotation at that spot.
Because Drake, where it's frustrating is left tackle is one of the more important positions in all of football, right? You think both of those guys are good enough to play in fucking games. Why not keep both of them on the field instead of taking one off?
I honestly think, bro, I don't think y'all wrong. I think right now, bro, they're in the same. I think they're just in a situation where they're really trying to get, how did I forget Brandon Coleman's name that quick? They're trying to get Brandon Coleman just some reps, bro. Like I really think that's the case, but they're trying to limit his exposure at the same time. That makes sense. Like they're not trying to give him 70-80% of the snaps Because like we see what happens in the limited amount of snaps that he does have. Like I think they're trying to spoon feed him, but they're also trying to like, all right, after these 20, because like he had a rep increase. I think he had like 11, 12, between 11 and 14 snaps against the Bucks, and then he had 20 something against the Giants. Like they're trying to spoon feed him, but they're also trying to course correct in real time. And I think ultimately, like their goal is probably to get him on the field full time. I just think that they don't want to overexpose him to the point where like there's a game where he literally is just getting cooked and like there's nothing that they can do about it. I think they want to wait until the moment is right to be like, all right, now you're good to go. But we're okay with you taking your lumps early in the season. I mean, it helps when you have a quarterback. It helps when you have a quarterback like Jaden Daniels, bro. Like Jaden Daniels feel for pressure in the pocket, bro, is among the league's best already, bro. Like he is a dog back there. It's not much that y'all like. There's a couple times against the Giants where he got out of sacks where they actually had contact on him and he got out of it. And I think that's something that people aren't taking into consideration too. Like these guys, of course, are struggling in their own respective ways. But Jaden Daniels feel for pressure in the pocket is something that overcomes a lot of the mistakes from the offensive line. And that's something that's major in this conversation too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Take the gloves off. You feel me? Like, even if you think Lucas and Coleman are adequate enough to be rotated at left tackle, that means if Cornelius Lucas is a swing tackle, just move him to the right tackle and put Andrew Wiley on the bench. Like, you can course correct after the game is over. But like you just said, Mual, like Jaden Daniels is already shown to be one of those prominent guys being able to maneuver outside of the pocket and his pocket presence amongst the likes like a Josh Allen, a Lamar Jackson, even an Anthony Richardson, right? I think that's another guy that does well within the pocket and outside the pocket. He's already shown that. So it's like whatever you're trying to course correct with live bullets, just let Jaden Daniels get out of that. But you have to keep some continuity on that offensive line, communication-wise, and just knowing what you're getting week in and week out. And that's where I guess I'm getting frustrated because, like I said, I could be watching the game at one moment, Brandon Coleman is playing, the next minute, I don't see that motherfucker for the rest of the game. and it's like, it's no injury, it's nothing. It's just, oh, Brandon Coleman and now became dark skinned.
But no, so and my last thing on this though, and I do hope that, and Mual makes a great point in that, you know, they're spoon feeding them, they're trying to get it ready. And like I mentioned, he didn't have a real preseason. He didn't get to play in preseason. But I hope what they did was these last two games, they kind of treated it as a preseason. He's got his NFL chops now. He's got his breath of what the NFL life is like in guarding, you know, these edge rushers and whatnot. So now I think it is time to take the training wheels off of Brandon Coleman and see what he can do with a full slate. I mean, you're going up against Cincinnati in Cincinnati. That's fine. That's cool. I mean, they do have some good edge rushers over there, but this is time to take the training wheels off. Let's see if we could put this guy out there for 60 minutes and see how it goes. I'm fine. Like I said, the first two games, that's cool, you know, because he didn't have his real preseason. You got him, you know, you got his feet wet, you spoon feed him, as Mual says. But now take the training wheels off. Let's see how this kid handles a whole game versus coming in and out of a game, trying to guard different guys and figuring out different guys. Because as AJ made a great point, you kind of change up techniques, you learn and you adapt throughout the course of a game, but it's kind of hard to adapt if you're coming in and out of the game and you're facing different rushers when you're in the game. So I do hope that this week they kind of make this definitive decision and they take the training wheels off of Brandon Coleman and let him just start the whole left tackle game.
I ain't gonna lie to y'all, bro. I disagree with y'all right now. I think
if you were coaching this team, you wouldn't do that, bro.
Would you do a rotation?
I think so I would have, first off, let's rewind this. This is a unique situation because Brandon Coleman was looking really good in in training camp, and then he gets hurt, right? Like, this ain't a person who played in preseason and training camp, and then they had all of those reps to see, and they're like, okay, we're going to move forward with Cornelius Lucas, or we're going to move forward with Brandon Coleman at left tackle. Like, that's the difference in the situation. So, like, would I do it? I think that this approach is appropriate, right? Or my only other option for me would be going with Cornelius Lucas at left tackle. It wouldn't be Brandon Coleman. Like, I wouldn't do that. So I say that to say, if this is their approach, I think that they need at least, honestly, bro, you need at least like 4 to 5 games to even evaluate a player, like to understand their traits. Like two games, unless somebody is like terribly bad or amazingly good in their first 2 games, then I don't think that 33 reps, especially on offensive line, is enough to even determine anything for a rookie. I don't think that. That's kind of where
that's why his ass need to play. Because if he can't play left tackle, you now have another hole that you have to address.
I'm going Cornelius Lucas,
limited
bro.
reps, it's hard to evaluate. It's like we know of no plan, right? There's been a lot of transparency, but we really know of no plan. Like, we don't know the snap count that he's on. Like, we have no clue. We just, like I said, you're just 1 minute looking at the game, and it goes from a light-skinned person to a dark-skinned person. That's it.
I'm going the route that they go, bro. Like, I'm not.
It's like if it's Johnny Newton, we plan on giving him 10 to 15 snaps.
I'm not geeking to start him, bro. I'm not geeking to start that man, bro.
How long do you kind of do that? That's my whole question. Is how
I said, I'm at like 4 or 5 games, bro. Like, I need 4 or 5 games, bro, of the same thing, the same mix and match with Lucas and Coleman. I need 4 or 5, bro. You said what?
After Cincinnati, they play who?
They got Cardinals. Yeah, they got Arizona.
Chicago.
Hey, Jay Tyler, shut the hell up.
That's your rival.
That is the furthest thing from my world. Like, that is the furthest thing from my world. It's like, if you're gonna put somebody on the field, let them play the whole game. Like, if he's capable of starting a game, leave him
Arizona,
out there for the
Cleveland,
entire game.
and Baltimore.
That's my issue.
So
I don't know. I just think it's different, bro.
I know instant gratification is what a lot of people want. That's not me. But it's like, if you drafted that man and you put him out there to start the game, let him finish the game up until it's 0-0 on the clock.
I think they're doing the right way. Like, you got it, Dre, bro. This my last thought, because I ain't about to. We gotta transition to the defense, right? Bro. Like, the thing is, bro, spoon feed them up until the point that they have an answer, bro. And I don't think 2 games in with 30 reps as a left tackle in the NFL with you missing preseason is adequate enough time to have an answer. You need more time.
And my stance is, I get that, and I also understand the approach. But my thing is, when does those training wheels come off? That's just my question. Like, and I think they do have to come off at some point soon.
Okay. All right. Well, before we get into the defense, man, hey, listen up. We got a sponsor, man, Underdog Fantasy. Let's go ahead and hear from our sponsors, aka me. And hear from these guys from Underdog Fantasy. All right, let's take a break from the show right quick, and let me tell you something about Underdog Fantasy. It is the greatest time of the year. Again, football is back, and it's here to stay till February. Over 1 million fans across 33 states got in the game last year by making picks on Underdog. Went up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on your favorite players' stats, such as touchdowns, passing yards, and more. Look, man, I love Underdog Fantasy. The sign-up process is smooth. They have a really slick mobile app, and it's the entertainment I've been looking for. I love me a good fantasy contest. I'm a competitive dude. Y'all know it. So sign me up 10 times out of 10. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward, and signing up is even easier. Just head over to Underdog's simple-to-use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with promo code TRAPORDIVE, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code TRAPORDIVE, to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older in Massachusetts and Arizona, 19 and older in Alabama and Nebraska, and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Arizona, next step or 1-800-639-8783 or text next steps at 53342. New York, call 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369. Boom, there it is. All right, let's get into the defense. I
know you ain't say gamble responsibly.
Hey, look, if you know what, no comment. I don't want to do nothing. No comment, bro. By the way, shout out to them Falcons last night. You hear me? You hear your boy? 5.5, bro. Yeah, man. Yeah, let's get into this defense though, bro. Where are we at, man? Oh yeah, give y'all the floor. There you go. Y'all got the floor.
I mean, defensively, I mean, honestly, there's still concerns there. I mean, what are we good at right now? And I wanted to ask y'all this too. I mean, y'all can answer this when y'all go, but like, did we miss Emmanuel Forbes? I mean, because Mike Davis was horrible in that game. Like, and then Noah Al wasn't any better. I thought Ben St. Juste was pretty decent for the most part in that game. I know a lot of fans don't like Ben, but I thought he was the best corner you had. The bar was pretty low. But defensively, we're still worried about a couple of things. I'm interested in seeing Joe Witt's presser this week because I know last week the biggest thing was communication. But I don't think communication was the issue this week. I mean, it was just it was a lot of other issues out there. For one, it was like they didn't have an answer for Malik Neighbors. And for a coaching staff that knows Daniel Jones, it didn't seem like they really, kind of knew how to stop him in a sense. Again, we're lucky that they didn't have a kicker in this game because if they had a kicker in this game, it's probably a different outcome, in terms of how they decided to do things. But I just didn't feel confident in our ability to stop them at all. Even Devin Singletary. I mean, Devin Singletary was kind of one of those running like an afterthought in the Buffalo Bills offense when he played up there with Josh Allen and those guys. But here, I mean, it didn't look any different than Saquon Barkley with the Giants whenever he touched the ball on a lot of his carries. So right now, defensively, I'm worried about the defensive tackles because I always thought, if you asked me, and I think y'all did ask us this question before the season started, what was the strength of this team or the strength of this defense? I was answering the defensive tackle group. Now I'm not so sure. I mean, the defensive tackle group is just not looking like the guys I expect them to look like. I mean, John Allen is looking like he's starting to hit that downtrodden part of his career. Daron Payne isn't playing up to the level we've seen him play before. I mean, it's cool that we're going to start working Johnny Newton into this defense a bit now. And I don't know how many snaps he's going to get going forward or at least early on. But we do hope that he can be the second-round pick guy that we think he can be. But that's the big concern right now is that middle of that defense. I do think the linebackers are playing pretty well. I know there's been talk about Bobby Wagner. I've even said he looked washed in the first game. But I thought he had a better showing this week. I thought Frankie Louvu, he played a little bit better. But again, I do think the problems right now is on that defensive line group outside of the secondary because we do have issues in the secondary. But the defensive line group is disappointing because that's where you kind of figure that you had the strength at. The edge rushers, we knew going into the season that the edge rushers was going to be a problem, or not a problem necessarily, but we didn't think it was going to be a strength in a sense. Montez Sweat and Chase Young, you had those guys. You go to Clelin Ferrell, you go to Dante Fowler and Dorrance Armstrong, but those guys aren't big impact guys, and they haven't made a big impact in these games. And that coupled with the defensive tackles is a big concern. And so that's why I'm a little interested to see what Joe Witt kind of has to say this week, to see what his answers are for why the defense isn't, looking good or isn't even giving us any encouraging signs. That's really the issue I have right now. Like, the defense isn't giving me encouraging signs like the offense is. Like, the offense, we had an issue with the field goals. They're not finishing in the red zone, but at the same time, they're moving the ball. Right now, what can we say about the defense that's looking good or that's giving us any kind of confidence that something's going to change going forward? And to me, it kind of starts with that defensive line group. Like, when they start making more plays, I think the defense may be able to get better, but we haven't seen that so far. So that's where I'm at with the defense right now. I'm a little concerned with that defensive line group right now.
AJ, you got the floor. Let me just add one part that's I've noticed a trend early on. Y'all know how I feel about John Allen after that first game against Tampa Bay. And my thoughts haven't changed. I think what I'm starting to notice after these 2 weeks, I haven't finished my full. I'm in the second half of the Giants game, but what I'm noticing actually like the literal beginning of the first half of the second half of the Giants game. But like teams, the Giants and Tampa Bay are double teaming or having their time double teaming the interior guys and forcing like these edge defenders to make plays. And they're isolating like these second and third level defenders to make plays near the line of scrimmage if they do decide to run it. And like I think that's kind of part of the mix and the concern that we're running into. Like, why isn't John Allen, Deron Payne making plays? They are facing double teams, and they're facing double teams against both these offenses. I don't think that there's a lot of respect on the edge defenders with this defensive line. And I think that's also a reason why they're sending a lot of 5-man pressures, 6-man five-man pressures for sure, with obviously Frankie Louvu and things like that. And like these fire zone pressures where they're sending like second level defenders to try and confuse these rushers and things like that. Confuse these offensive linemen and things like that. But I think that's kind of the problem that we're running into, Dre, is the fact that these interior tackles are getting doubled. Not every play. There's definitely one-on-ones, and they aren't winning. But a good portion of the game, these guys are seeing some double teams, and they're getting eliminated out of these things, and they aren't good against double teams. And that's not a good thing. Like, especially with your interior defensive lineman, you're getting paid a lot of money. If y'all ain't good against double teams, bruh, like, come on. But you got it, AJ. I just want to say that.
I mean, I think the defense is the defense. That's how it's going to be for the rest of the season. I think that you just got to hope that they go against the offensive line that's just not as good, because Joe Witt Jr. is he's gonna send pressure because he knows that he can't get home with the base that he has now, with the Dorrance Armstrongs, the Clelin Ferrells of the world at pass rush. Fowler coming in, he can't get home with those guys. Those guys aren't beating their man one-on-one. So with that being said, you just got to hope that you go against a poor offensive line and that you can take advantage of it. I think what could be a benefit, and I'm hoping that Joe Witt is looking at it from this aspect, maybe being able to play Johnny Newton, Jonathan Allen, and Deron Payne together may help some. I think Johnny Newton can play some DN. I think he's that explosive off the ball and great with his hands to where he could play some DN. I'm hoping that Joe Witt Jr. gives him some snaps there, because I feel like he could beat some tackles at either left or right. Louvu, I mean, he's an effort guy, but not necessarily with his hands or whatever. He's not going to beat you with his hand placement and pass rush moves, but he is going to give that max effort. But, I mean, like I said, when it comes to this defense, it is what it is. It's not going to improve unless they go against a underwhelming offensive line. I just think that the secondary is what the secondary is. Today, they ended up signing Kevin Seymour to their practice squad. He'll probably end up getting elevated on Sunday. But yeah, I mean, Joe Witt Jr. is having to get creative with these blitzes and stuff because he doesn't have a true threat on that defense like a Micah Parsons, like I touched on Sunday. Like, when you don't have a disruptor from that sense or an elite player defensively, you got to get creative. And we would consider Payne and Allen to be those elite guys just due to the fact of what Washington fans have had to witness over the years. But when you really get down to it, they don't have a difference maker like a Mason Crosby, Chris Jones. We even seen how much on that Sunday night game, the Bears versus the Texans, how much their two edge rushers help everything else out defensively in Will Anderson Jr. and Daniil Hunter. Like, you don't have a difference maker on defense at this point.
And that's crazy to say, AJ, when you think about that shit, because we got two, I want to say, I could be wrong, but Clelin Ferrell and Dante Fowler were like 2 top 5 to 2 top 6 picks in their respective drafts.
Clelin Ferrell was like 4th overall by Mike Mayock, by the Raiders.
Fowler was like number 4 or 5, something like that.
Yeah, the Jaguars.
Yep. So, and you would think that, I mean, those guys never did live up to their draft bill. And even though they became solid players in the NFL, but yeah, you're right. I mean, we just don't have that right now. And I watched that Texans and Bears game, and that was something I was thinking about with Jaden Daniels. I was like, well, damn, Caleb could really use Jaden's legs in this type of game because he can't evade that pressure that Houston is bringing all game. So, yeah, I mean, we just don't have that right now. So it's just going to be interesting to see how Joe Witt and Dan Quinn kind of schemes this thing up for them.
Yes, point blank period. I agree. It's going to be important to see how they scheme it up. Secondary wise, I'm not necessarily too sure. Mike Davis, he had a rough time against the Giants. I want to say this, bruh. I want to put this out there because I haven't been super critical with a lot of things. More so just like wait and see how things unplay. Like I give people their fair shot. Same thing I did with Rivera. Like you make your decisions, I criticize your decisions or I compliment your decisions based on the decisions that you make. Why did you sign Mike Davis? You signed Mike Davis knowing you had problems in this secondary. You chose to go with Mike Davis. And I don't want to make it sound like I'm piling on after his first game where he's playing after Emmanuel Forbes, but I'm more so just begging the question, like this secondary in itself, this cornerback position was not good. Like we knew that going into the situation. And like you signed Mike Davis as one of these guys that can chip in. And the first two games, only reason why he's playing is because Emmanuel Forbes got hurt. But your first two games, you did not plan on playing Mike Davis and your secondary at all. Like first game, he didn't get no snaps. Second game, he wasn't going to get snaps, but Emmanuel Forbes got hurt. If you get a guy in who you think you can start or that you can play alongside Ben St. Juste or like back up Noah Igbenogany, you ain't playing Mike Davis. And my thing is, I 100% agree with every single person who says you can't turn around this team in one season. Point blank, period, end of sentence. I'm not arguing it. I'm not making a case against. But my only problem that I have with understanding that is like when you have opportunity, right? Like at what point do we take certain positions more seriously than the other? Louisville got a 3-year deal, which is good. And I don't want to I'm not trying to macro this thing in particular. I just really want to get to the point of like certain positions, which is why I'm doing this. He got a 3-year deal. Dorrance Armstrong got a 3-year deal. Bobby got a 1. I think Mike got a 1. But the cornerback position is one of the jumps where like you really needed some help and you could have been a little bit more aggressive at that position. And that's kind of where I'm battling with the idea of like the decision to sign certain people, especially when you realize that they're not going to work out. Like I remember and I respect Ron Rivera when he made the decision. He signed that safety from Pittsburgh. I forgot who it was. And he ain't even make it out of training camp and they cut that dude.
Sean Davis.
Sean Davis, bro. He didn't even make it out of training camp and they cut that man. Like, if you don't like a dude, bro, cut him. What you saving face for? Again, this one game, I'm not going to make a super huge deal out of it. It's more so just begging the question. If we at this point with Mike Davis, where like 2 games into the season, you didn't plan on playing him defensively, like what are we doing?
But
hold on. Just think about it this way. Mike Davis is so bad that Emmanuel Forbes is better than him to start. From a fan perspective, right? They give Forbes so much heat, but Mike Davis is that bad that week 1 of the season he's seen no snaps.
They didn't plan on playing him. But you know what's wild about it though is that our defensive backs coach Mike Davis last year, in LA with the Chargers. Tom Donatel. That to me, I thought that was the whole reason they brought Mike Davis over, was because of the familiarity that Tom Donatel had with him, and he must have put a word or a bug into Quinn or Witt's ear and like, yeah, go sign this guy. So now I'm questioning Tom Donatel, like, what the hell? Like, what did you see in LA that's so different here? But again, it's one game. I mean, I don't know how if he did this consistently with the Chargers. But what we seen in week 2 in his first game with us, that shit was atrocious.
I mean, that's how Mike Davis been playing. No, like that's how he's playing with the Chargers. So it's not surprising to me. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. Some people in the chat are saying rebuild. This is how you kind of tank. Nah, that ain't it. That ain't it at all.
They don't. Nah, I've been seeing people say that.
Too many people put in faith in Adam Peters, and we also got to remember this is his first GM gig in the league.
Yeah. And honestly, to be honest with you, I see a lot of people saying that they are purposely tanking right now. I don't think they're purposely tanking right now. I also don't think they purposely went out and tried to build a Super Bowl contender this year. I think they know what it takes, and I think they know that this is a process. But I also don't think they want to go out there and look horrible year one. I mean, this is year one of a new regime, of a franchise trying to restore their image or restore the fan base. I don't think you purposely go out there and say, yeah, we tanking, even if you purposely doing it personnel wise. I just don't think that they put an all-out effort to try to go out there and build this playoff team that a lot of fans kind of expected. But at the same time, I think they want to look decent, but they know they have a lot of work ahead. I don't really buy into the purposely tanking thing with Adam Peters right now. I don't think Josh Harris is even wanting it, because Josh Harris even said before the damn season started, and it caught me off guard. I think it was one of his little pressers that he had. He said, we better be better than last year. That doesn't sound like an owner that wants to go out there and purposely tank. He just wants a team that looks functional and that's going to put some butts in the seats and give you something to look forward to next year. So I don't buy into the whole they're tanking early on thing. No.
Let's close out with this conversation on the defense side of football. I mean, we've had some macro discussions already, but what do we think is the most important? What is the most important part that needs to be addressed, like through coaching or practices, things like that? What is the most important part of the deficiencies that needs to be addressed as the weeks move on, in order to have a fighting chance of competitiveness week in and week out, to have a fighting chance at even pushing for a wild card spot, right? Like, you're 1-1, you're in it until you aren't. So let's kind of like, what is that one? Because they got a couple issues. One of which, and I'll say this now, based on my early film study, Trips still fucked them up against the Giants. Trips formation bunches still fucked them up. That first pass to Malik Neighbors, the touchdown one, fucked them up. So, like, what do we think is the biggest deficiency that they need to address?
Biggest deficiency they need to address is scoring some damn touchdowns. You can call it undisciplined with the penalties, but either way, if you have 7 opportunities in the red zone, you should be able to get at least.
I feel like you. Wait, are we answering the right question here? I was talking about.
I need to work on.
Yeah, the defense, just to make sure.
Oh, you talking about defense?
Yeah. Okay. All right. I want. All right. If I wasn't. All right. Cool. Then my bad. Then. Yeah.
Yeah. Defensively, the defense.
I was like, was I tripping?
Yeah. The defense is the defense. They could try to get home to the quarterback. I think that even solves the bunch formation stuff, the stack formation stuff. If they can get home, they ain't got to worry about that as much.
For me, I'm gonna say the biggest deficiency is they have to buy into what Joe Witt wants to do as a defense. Joe Witt, what is he said all off season? He wants to play fast, he wants to play physically, he wants to play violent. We haven't seen that in 2 weeks. Now, if this defense is going to be any kind of competent this season or give this offense any kind of chance in games this season, they're going to have to buy into what Joe Witt wants them to do. And that goes for every level of the defense. That goes from the D-line, the linebackers to the secondary. I think they have to buy in to what Joe Witt wants to do, and that can help even when you lack the talent, you can still give the effort. So, and I think that's kind of one of the things we've seen lacking with a lot of players on the defense is the effort has been lacking. We can sit up here and point to Jeremy Chin sitting up here blowing tackles that this guy we know he can make. We could point that we've been pointing out Mike Davis sitting out here flat out missing tackles. I mean, it's just guys, they're probably thinking too much. I don't know, but either way, I think they have to buy into what Joe Witt wants them to do, and that's start to play fast, less thinking, and go out there, be physical, be violent, and play through the contact. And that's when I think that's the best success we can hope for from this group that they have in the defense right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they get home, bro, that I think they're bought into what he wants, right? I just think that they gotta complete the damn play, and that play for real, is creating more pressure and having sacks, because that gives you momentum. That makes you feel more confident. That makes your DBs in the back feel like they could possibly jump on some stuff in the passing game. But it's like if you're not getting home, you just like we getting beat no matter what. And we doing this with 4-man fronts. We doing this with sending 5 men, 6 men. We still not getting home. So if let's think about the Tampa Bay game. We think they missed like 5, 6 sacks, right? If they had got 4 of those sacks, that changes a lot from a mental standpoint, from a momentum standpoint, defensively. Like, look how huge in the week 2 game against the Giants, Ben punching out that ball for the fumble was for them, as far as how they felt momentum wise, and they felt a bit more enthused. Were they still getting diced up by Malik Neighbors? Yes, but at the end of the day, that gave them an extra oomph. You feel me? And it could have really even been worse defensively. They didn't give up a whole bunch of touchdowns. I think they gave up 2 touchdowns overall on the game on the day.
It was 3, wasn't it?
3.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So, yeah, I mean, it could have been even worse. I just think that they need to get to the quarterback more because this defense is predicated on creating turnovers. And the only way to create those turnovers is to make the quarterback have to rush their passes, feel uncomfortable in the pocket, and you getting home to the quarterback overall with a strip sack or something of that nature.
Yeah, I'll be quick with mine. I honestly think communication is going to be the biggest part. Dre mentioned a good point in terms of like the words that Joe Witt has said, fast, physical, all that stuff. Look, you told us that communication hadn't been a problem through practice, training camp, every part of the off season, basically, until y'all started playing in the regular season. Yeah, if there's gonna be something that helps these guys in the long run, it's preventing explosive plays. And if you can't get these alignments and these matchups right, or these assignments right, like based on your formations and based on how Joe Witt wants this stuff done, it's gonna be a long season. So that's kind of how I look at it. It's gonna be communication. Joe Witt said he's going to change things up in practice. He said that last week. So we're going to monitor that, like not physically and visually monitor that. We're just going to see like what it looks like on the field, right? I don't think it was going to be an overnight thing. Probably going to take some time. But we know that offenses are going to continue to test these guys because it's a copycat league. We said that last week. They're going to find out what you struggle with, and they're going to keep pushing your buttons until they see that this is something that y'all have addressed. So Cincinnati ain't gonna be no different, and they got an extra day to prepare. It ain't gonna be no different, bro. So that's kind of my thing. Okay, all right, that's gonna wrap it up for us. We up out of here. We back on Thursday for the game preview. Cincinnati, Washington, and then after that, we'll see you on Monday night. All 32 is out tomorrow. Y'all be safe. Enjoy y'all day. Enjoy y'all evening. All that good stuff whenever y'all listening. Peace.